correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPGs, a podcast where me and my friend Steve...
We're playing games this time.
Previously at Progress Junction, our group, spending a casual summer evening in the tavern of Progress Junction, was interrupted by the bloody, gore-covered, now body of one of Wayne Enterprises' employees. Tracking this mess back to the caverns just outside of town, you sweet-talked your way through the Wayne enforcers, encouraging them to maintain a perimeter while you delved in to try to find what had caused the mayhem. Moving deeper into the caves, you stumbled upon a scene, a grisly massacre of multiple dead Wayne employees, and a heavily wounded, for a lack of better word, god, Hecate, the manager of Crossroads, the once mentor to Marcus, wounded, asking for aid, telling you that something evil was coming before passing out from their wounds. We find our group standing in this macabre cavern with dead bodies strewn about and an unconscious god laying in a pool of their blood in need of medical aid. We had ended with Oaken saying they were going to transport Hecate back to the tavern, while the other two plan to talk to the Wayne Enterprise employees who are still guarding the perimeter. What do we do?
I can take one other with me, but one must stay.
Well, I do believe that given the conversation I had with the gentleman outside, that I probably should at least show myself leaving. The trick is going to be, I need, in order for them to be amenable to work with us any further, I'm going to have to let them know about this. And he kind of waves his hands towards the mess that used to be their co-workers. But do y'all think that they'd buy it if I told them that we found evidence that something was here, and it clearly was something beyond anything I know any of the locals to be?
That is not a lie.
But I did not... whatever it was that did this does not appear to be there anymore. Though perhaps it might behoove them to wait until daylight before they come up in here, just in case.
You do what you must, but I must get her back to the saloon.
Indeed.
Is anyone coming with me?
I'll come with you.
All right, we depart now. So I'm going to use, I have to declare if I'm going to use luck or not prior to this, right?
Since we're playing a shorter session, we are going to say anytime you use luck, it counts as 2, because usually weird stuff happens when you use up your luck.
Yep.
And otherwise, you just have so much luck that there's just no pressure to it.
So
not that I think you guys are going to burn a lot of luck, because I know you guys are okay taking the negatives, but I don't care if you declare it before or after. Usually I say after.
Okay.
But...
All right, we'll do after then. So I'm going to roll my weird. I have angel wings, which lets me go instantly anywhere I visited before or to a person I know well. I can carry up to 1 or 2 people with me, and I got to roll weird. So I have a plus 1 to weird. It's a 5, so I'm going to use my luck.
All right.
And
so you don't want to bamf somewhere random?
No. Nope. And I will end up right at my bar stool in the saloon.
Okay. Where does this dead body, or not dead body, this very wounded god, clearly not human, appear?
directly on the bar in front of me.
Perfect. All right.
Poof.
And you can remind me again, Hagen, what's your character's name?
Myles.
Myles. Will show up right next to me.
Perfect. So, how much time do you think has passed? And the reason I am asking this is you had left the Wayne Enterprises people guarding a body that was being collected and moved. Has enough time passed that they are no longer in the tavern?
I feel like a couple hours probably passed while we were exploring.
I was going
So
to
I
say, by the time we got there and went through, I would say at least a couple hours.
So I don't know how long it would have taken them to collect the body, but that's the time frame I would have thought. Like maybe 3 hours.
So I'll say the body's gone. The place is pretty kind of deserted. But there's still the blood stain. No one's cleaned up the space yet.
Okay. Well, now we're going to have a new one.
Perfect. Boom. So you guys appear. How do you pronounce this? Is it Hecate? I don't know how. Hecate. Okay, I'm going to just stick to that. So Hecate is still unconscious on the bar. But as soon as you what does this look like, first off? Describe for me a little bit how your magic of doing this activity actually looks as if this were a movie.
So where I materialize, I basically launch myself with the others. And there's this kind of silvery shimmer that happens. And it's almost like a portal that opens up.
Got it.
And
How
then when I come back.
How do the wings kind of play into this, right? Because you said you had wings. Or is it more metaphorical wings?
No, they're actual wings that sprout out. And one of the feathers gets left behind each time I do this.
Dope. Cool.
And when I come back in, the shimmer that had started the portal begins it on the other side. And
Cool.
I just descend out of it slowly and purposefully.
Love it. And I kind of see like your wings kind of maybe like not kind of like hugging, but kind of like encompassing those that you're carrying with you in this action. And so
Correct.
one of the wings is kind of like underneath Hecate on the bar, and the other one is just kind of draped over Miles's shoulders. There are a couple gas lanterns burning as it is deep night at this point. And the doors are closed. Your bartender and your house staff had closed up before they left, having done this for you before. And there's this stillness and emptiness, something that only Oaken really is aware of, almost like the absence of what should be in this space.
The first thing I do is I look directly into the mirror at the reflection of Hecate on the bar.
And you see this entity that is more powerful than what they look like to your eyes. But you see that they've been ravaged. They carry scars on their body. Not all of them recent. You get a actually, make me a roll. What am I doing? I shouldn't give all this away for free.
All right. What type of roll? Weird? Let's use magic. Investigate a mystery sharp, I guess.
We can do investigate a mystery, though you are kind of doing this magically, so I'd also go for a weird roll too.
Weird is good for me.
Okay.
Myles, did you have any desire to do that? I don't know what you're doing at this standpoint while I'm doing this.
Personally, Maeve made banana bread muffins, so I had to grab a couple of those, but I was still listening.
Banana bread is dope.
It is looking to see what I could kick in on.
I once again got a 6.
I love it. So there's this nebula of energies that are kind of overlaying, almost like this. You remember? Did you watch Thor the Dark One or whatever?
Dark World?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, it's a soul engine. It's like their energies overlaying their bodies. Like, so you kind of see almost like these energies overlying your body, and there's just chaos and this turmoil. But over your shoulder, behind you, you see the faint outlines of something else.
I turn my head slowly.
It's still there.
What is it? I turn and face it directly. Hello?
Hello.
Who are you?
And it kind of like sputters. You get the sense that it's like struggling to like solidify itself. I don't know. I was something once, but who am I now?
I was hoping you could tell me, but we have a more pressing issue here, and I gesture to Hecate on the bar. I don't know where you came from. Where did you come from? You didn't tag along with me, did you?
Yes? Maybe? What's wrong with the goddess of the crossroads?
She's injured
Yes, I
by
can tell.
many blades, many weapons.
And one of them poisoned.
You know better than I do, apparently.
May I? And it reaches out to touch your sword.
I step back.
You're against the bar, so you like kind of get off your stool and shuffle back. Okay.
Yeah, like I try to step back, but I'm against the bar, so I
Got
can't
it.
move.
I don't wish to offend, but I feel as if this is the foci of your power.
Yes. How do you know these things?
I don't know. How do you know these things?
Part of me, of who I am, of what I've been trained to do?
It feels a part of me, but I don't know if I've been trained.
Can you help her?
I think so, but I feel that I must connect with you.
I'm hesitant, but what is there like some kind of... I guess I'm trying to figure out if there's some kind of sign. I think that was probably the weird roll I made, that I can't figure this out, but I'm a little skeptical about this, but I'm out of other options. I'm gonna hold it out.
Or let me back up. Is there an item that is more valuable to Oaken than their sword? That's just been the one item I know about.
No.
Then it's the sword that they are asking
I
to touch, to not to take, but just like reaching out with a finger. May I touch it?
I'm wary, but I hold it out.
Okay. And so do you pull it out of the scabbard and are holding it, or like how are you holding it out?
I'm holding it out in its scabbard.
Okay. So the being reaches out, touches the sword, and kind of like almost like decorporealizes into the sword itself. And the sword transforms into a broom.
A broom?
Oh, it all makes sense now.
What?
And you hear this in your
Where'd
head.
my sword go?
It's right here. This is clearly the better shape. Way more useful.
What?
But you're right. We should probably do something to save this god. I feel like they'd be very angry if we let them die.
Yeah, but I'm like very confused and flabbergasted as to what just happened, and a little bit sad.
Oh, fine. I can become a sword again, and it's going to become a sword. But you could do so much less with a sword than you can a broom. Anyways, my name, Steve. What should the name of this entity be? Think butlerly.
Reginald.
Reginald.
Oh, this
Perfect.
is my pet sword, Reggie.
Well, my name is Reginald, and I am the intellectus of your tavern. Now that we have a true guest, though I'm splitting hairs in that they have not actually signed the guest registry and haven't therefore actually formally become a guest, but I feel it's implied, I am starting to wake up again. Much of my abilities still seem locked away and dormant, but I have some base capacities now. I think you and I might be able to find a way to help our patron, which is ultimately what we are meant to do. Protect those who are wandering, give safe haven to those who need it, to fill empty bellies and warm, cold feet. We are, after all, what's the name of this tavern?
I feel like we gave
I
it a
think
name.
I
Terry
hate
had
the
originally
name.
called it. Yeah.
Nope, we're not using that name. It's not even going to go on the recording.
The Way Between.
Ooh.
The Way Between.
Yeah, it is. We are, after all, the way between. And with that, it's still kind of fuzzy. You get the sense that this thing has been sleeping for a while. It's still, this is like its base functions.
Mhm.
But you start having more awareness in the tavern, more concepts of things. And you are able to kind of start instructing Myles on what you can do to help care for Hecate. And Myles, you are going to need to brew an antidote. There's a poison running through her system. I don't care how you mechanically do this, but talk to me about how you would formulate this healing unguent that Oaken kind of like describes to you in very weird, your guys' kind of way of communicating, because he's just getting like this data dump of knowledge that isn't necessarily grounded in human knowledge and awareness.
Well, this sounds similar to a case that I can recall in San Francisco once. I believe I needed worm roots, and let me dig through a few of my items and go over to the cabinet and start gathering things and fire up the beakers, and then kind of weighing things out and putting ingredients together. And I guess I need to roll some dice. I'm gonna guess this would be sharp or weird.
Honestly, this is like not in the game mechanics, so whichever one you feel is appropriate for your character.
I mean, it's sort of both, but I mean, honestly, it's the same plus on either one. I got a 2 on both. So
okay, then we'll say it's both of those and just roll.
All right, so this is 2d6.
Yep.
Gosh.
Plus the 2.
What? Oh yeah, plus the 2. Sorry.
Yep. So 8.
Perfect. So you're able to start combining this potion together. You are having the improv, getting a little bit of guidance from Oaken as they are kind of communing with their intellectus of Reginald, the manifestation, kind of the aura, the spirit, whatever word works for you, of this tavern, of the way between. Cool, and we're gonna, as we kind of see this montage of Oaken, who, being a Valkyrie, she's very aware of kind of battlefield medicine, is doing very basic kind of field care while you're putting together this potion. We're going to fade over to find the other member of our group, Marcus, who's made their way to the exit of the tunnels. And what do we see?
So I think Marcus comes trundling back out of the caves, lantern in hand. I think at this point he's actually looking for the individuals he spoke with to establish the perimeter before we went in.
You can definitely find them.
And so he'll approach them and, well, gentlemen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but apparently your friend who stumbled into the tavern was not working alone last night.
She was part of a work detail, but we haven't been able to locate any of them.
Yeah, well, I was. I can safely tell you that, to the best of my knowledge and abilities, whatever they encountered, one was definitely not something I have ever seen anything of the sort happen of any of the locals here. And 2, I do not any longer see any signs of within these caverns. However, you're going to have some work to do to clean things up. And,
what does
yeah.
Clean what up?
Well, like I said, I found the rest of your work detail.
Are you saying that there's more Ed Wayne Enterprises?
Yes.
They've killed more of our people?
Something did.
And
given
did you
the
find
scene,
what did this?
No, I did not. But I can assure you, if you go look at what I found, you will be quite certain that it was not something any townsfolk or anything of that like would be capable of.
So your character's pretty aware of the supernatural.
Yes.
Can you make a sharp roll for me?
Sure. Well, I gotta get on the right screen. Hang on. 9.
I think you'd realize that a lot of these employees all kind of look not like they're siblings, but look like they're all probably of the same family. And you've kind of noticed it before, but they all dress just a little, like they make an effort to make themselves look different. So you probably haven't picked up on it. But as you're watching, you see they all kind of start to almost like twitch and almost like seems like they grow a bunch of hair or start to grow a bunch of hair before they kind of like shake themselves out of it and almost retain their human form. Our friends, we will avenge them. Tell us as soon as you figure out who did this. We can't let this go unanswered.
I will let you know when I know something. However, the only thing I can tell you currently is I am quite certain that whatever caused the scene I witnessed is no longer there.
Well played. Yeah. Fine. But thank you. And they look defeated and like they've lost somebody important to them, and they all start going into the caves, the tunnels.
So, I wonder, you mentioned that something seemed to happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just something I picked up on, or is that something I could, like a investigate roll, or is that kind of what you had me make that sharp roll for?
The sharp roll was kind of that investigate roll.
Okay. Good enough.
Is there something you're trying to clarify or find out, or what are you trying to get at?
Well, you mentioned the couple things you mentioned triggered something in Steve's brain.
Yep.
I didn't know if that would be going too far in, across the wall, so to speak.
When have I ever said you've gone too far across the wall?
Fair. So I have some suspicions. So do I have a question to ask from that roll or no?
Sure. We'll say yes.
So can I slightly modify the one question on the sheet? Question that's there is, what sort of creature is this? And what I'm wanting to ask is, am I confident that these Wayne people are human?
You are not confident.
Okay.
I like how you could have asked anything and you talked your way down to a possible answer.
Well, but it feels like what you were leading to with the information you gave. Like you weren't trying to tell me specifics, more like hint that there might be something wrong.
Yeah, but you get to ask a question. So I feel like I was vague in your answer, and you could ask a question, and then you asked a vague question to confirm my vagueness. Yeah, it's possible maybe that they're slightly not entirely, human-esque in nature.
Okay.
If that doesn't move us forward, I don't know what does.
Right?
So I think with that, I will go ahead and make my way back towards the tavern, being as that's where I know Oaken was going, and
Perfect. Yes, I think you're able to make your way through town unmolested, and I think you're going to enter just as they're finishing applying the healing aids to Hecate.
Oh, given my suspicions from the conversation we just had, while I'm there, can I stop by my library and see if I have anything about possibly, werewolves or something like that?
Sure.
Okay.
How do you want to handle that?
Well, it says if you use your library's occult tomes and grimoires, prepared with your tomes and grimoires, take a +1 going forward for use magic. In this case, if my suspicion is correct, could I get a +1 when dealing with the suspected werewolves, as opposed to use magic? In other words, because I have deduced what I think they are, instead of it giving me a bonus to use magic, I get a +1 when I'm interacting with them because I have gleaned information about what they are and what might work in dealing with them.
So what if you're completely wrong?
Then I wouldn't get anything.
Okay, cool.
Then it's another day at the office for Steve.
Steve, you're wrong.
Okay.
They're not
Well,
werewolves.
that's what I think.
Okay. They're not
So-
werewolves.
Okay.
Am I emphasizing this enough? They're not werewolves.
Okay.
There were bats.
I think it's another B word, but you're close.
Where beast.
It's a specific one, but yeah.
Well, they're lycanthropes.
Beavers. Where beavers?
They look like beavers, actually.
Where
badgers?
boxers?
Do you know what a capybara are?
Where
Yes.
capybara?
They're South American giant aquatic.
They're not aquatic, are they?
Yeah, they are.
They're
Semi-aquatic.
rodents. They're rodents.
They're
They live
semi-aquatic
they live in giant colonies of up to hundreds.
in
it is
the
a-
Amazon rainforest. They're semi-aquatic.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Speak from the Tick was a capybara.
Didn't watch the Tick.
Steve's old. He did.
Yeah. So they are where that word.
Okay. So they are lycanthropes,
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Lycanthropes.
which, yeah, fair enough. I wasn't counting on your creativity, sadly. I apologize.
It's all right. I'm talking to a woman and she suggested it and it sounded cool. So I was like, I'll get lots of points here. Anyways, so that's why they all look familial. Cool. All right. So you flipping through a book in your library, kind of like stumble onto a picture and you like look at this, like it's a family photograph of where capoeiras, and you're just like, these look very familiar, and you're looking closer, and it's talking about how they form these large familial groups, and they often organize around a shared common goal. And kind of in the back of your brain, it kind of tickles, and you realize that Wayne Enterprises actually originated in South America. That they kind of moved up through this territory.
Hmm. All right. So after, I'm proceeding from the library back. Like I'm, so to speak, stopping by the library on the way to the tavern.
Perfect. All right. So basically we're going to start up with you have entered the tavern as Hecate is waking up. Still very injured. You guys have applied the antitoxin and have bandaged up everything.
And I'm just sitting on the stool next to her, waiting.
Yeah. I have a crushing headache. Where am I? Am I in the tavern? I'm in the way between, right?
You are.
I need something to drink.
Alcohol? Not alcohol?
Yeah, something strong.
I reach behind the bar and grab the first bottle that I can get.
Perfect. Roll the d6. Odds, it's a great drink. Evens, it's a weird drink.
I like weird drinks. 6.
Cool. What is it?
It's moonshine.
Perfect. But it's
Like-
got a
Made from moon rays, like actually bathed in the moon.
Yeah, it is. I was just about to go there, so get out of my head first off. Hagen, since you made this, what is its special property?
Its special property is that it will, about an hour after you've drunk it, it will actually give you a small bonus to your. It makes you more charismatic for an hour.
Awesome. And you kind of glow a little bit, almost like moonbeams are coming out of you. So she takes just a deep drink and kind of like I think there's like a pillar going up at one part of the bar and kind of like props herself up against it and like leans back. You do not know the month that I have had.
I think it's about this point that Marcus comes in through like a back entrance that he knows of, because he's a local. And kind of comes around the corner into the back of the, like kind of behind the bar area.
So as kind of like startles, and if you remember, she kind of has these like snake-like tendrils, one of which is like dead, and they kind of like pop up, and they're looking kind of very aggressively towards the sound that's coming from the back of the tavern.
It's just me.
Who the fuck are you?
I had my sword out.
Oh, Marcus.
Yes. It
Marcus.
sounds like you're doing a little better than you were.
Your sword is a broom again.
So, fishing a broom.
A magical broom. And she
All,
kinda,
all I'm hearing when you said broom is Sorcerer's Apprentice and the damn mops.
Swords to broom share.
Yep. 100%. And she kind of like sinks back down, like tilts her head back. Oh, you don't even know, Marcus. Someone is trying to hostily take over the taverns.
Well, that's not good. I think I figured something else out myself.
What's that?
And at this point, Marcus like reaches into his coat and pulls out this book and drops it down onto the bar. And there's probably a little dust puffs up off the book itself. And he flips through real quick to the picture you were telling me I found.
Yep.
And I look at Myles and Oaken and tell me this don't look like them Wayne Enterprise folk. Don't remind you of them.
Oaken looks at it and looks back at Marcus. What does this mean?
Well, I'm wondering if... Because, right, so when I talked to them when I left, I swear I saw them like they all almost started to change or something. And so I stopped on the way back here, stopped in my library and checked this out, but I swear it some sort of weird lycanthrope beast, but it indicates that maybe they're South American, like these, almost like great big prairie dogs, but from the jungles of South America.
Jungle prairie dogs? That sounds adorable.
Well, no, they're big. They're like size of a big dog almost.
Does this book talk about what liking capoeira would be like, or is it just kind of like a crypto book?
I think it may have some information about lycanthropy in general.
Okay.
I think it probably only mentions the existence of where capybara.
Okay, so I think I like that. So it describes kind of like lycanthropy as like a philosophical concept, and then has some of these real world like practical concepts, like where goats, where bears, where like, you know, there's a bunch of these different types, and it's like a blurb about it.
Yes.
And the blurb about the capoeira are they tend to be very resilient. They tend to be, you know, in bigger kind of familial populations. And they, because of their numbers and their scrappiness, they can be very dangerous, especially when you get them in a group.
But, excuse me, Myles, you're saying that someone is trying to take over the taverns. You mean taverns like this one?
Yes. You know, I'm their representative, you know, trying to help them stay independent, but someone has been doing forceful takeovers of multiple other taverns, and I can't figure out how they're getting around the what's a good like magical word for law? Their
Contract?
I can't understand how they're getting around the magical contracts that exist with these taverns. They're supposed to be protected from things like this. Even this tavern was going dormant instead of reverting back to nothing. You know, clearly it's just recently reactivating because of my presence.
Reginald?
What?
I hold out the broom.
At this point, Marcus is
Yes,
looking
sir.
very confused.
Do you know what's happening at other taverns?
Are you wanting Reginald to speak out loud or just like in your head?
No, this is telepathically.
Yeah. I'm sorry, sir. My interdimensional connections are still quite limited. As more of my functions come online, I can prioritize these over others if you would prefer me to devote my energies there.
Do what you feel is best, but I may request it of you eventually.
Sir, I
Right.
feel like that's a cop-out for you to try to make the GM choose for you.
I need more information to make an informed decision.
Perfect. Then at this time I shall continue striving to get base functions online so that we might somewhat function as an appropriate tavern for our guests.
I say, I go to Hecate. Where are these other taverns? I've just been to this one, and somehow it has attached itself to me.
You have been other places, Oaken. She has traveled. Has she stayed at other taverns?
Not that maybe she wasn't aware of them. That's why she's asking for more information to see if she can identify if she has been.
I'm trying to get a sense of like how traveled Oaken is, or did Oaken really just live in one place and then come here?
Oaken's relatively new out of, like, I don't know how else to put it, but Valkyrie training.
Sure. Okay, then.
But I don't know if there was like an internship somewhere else, basically.
Got it. So taverns aren't like most places you're at a tavern as a kind of a dimensional wanderer. Taverns are where kind of you end up on your travels to stay for periods of time, or they're kind of like convention centers or things. So these are kind of the neutral grounds that people can move to get to stay at. So you would typically know if you've been at one, but it sounds like your character hasn't necessarily been wide traveled dimensionally, so we'll just say this is their first one.
Okay.
So Hecate kind of brings their hands together, and almost like the night sky coalesces between their hands, and they pull it out almost like as a web, and they kind of like run it, not like touching you, but between you and them as they kind of like look through it, and they bring it up and down your body. It's almost like they're scanning you. And she says, "Oh, yes, it seems you are now the proprietor of this tavern."
Yes, I coincided with your arrival.
Oh, goodness. Tavern, am I your first guest?
Reginald.
Reginald, thank you. Reginald, am I your first guest in a while? And the mirror behind kind of pops up with almost like a guest book type thing, and it shows like dates. Like, in this tavern was very, very popular, lots of numbers, and then 10 plus years ago, just nothing. And that's not to say there haven't been guests. There just haven't been dimensional guests. And then until you get to today's date and you see, and it's like pending guest Hecate. Oh goodness, I haven't formally established myself as a guest, have I? Reginald, you are letting me through on a loophole. I value that. I, Hecate, manager of Crossroads and its taverns, do hereby accept occupancy at this tavern. And you see her name kind of like, as soon as she says that, flips to being more of a committed signed. And you almost feel like a little bit of a power boost to Reginald, as there's now a formal guest in the way between.
And you see me kind of, Oaken gets a shiver when that happens, because she feels that connection as well through Reginald's connection.
So you almost, you know how like you have your peripheral vision, how you're like almost able to see stuff and you're like aware of it but not really have the details? You now kind of have that sensation for this main room and the bar. But like almost just outside of it, you have the awareness that you should be able to have more awareness of this space, but also the whole tavern itself.
All right, I'll make note of that and keep that inside for myself.
So, anyways, it seems that there's a hostile takeover of some organization that's threatening taverns, and several of them have already fallen. And I was on my way here because this tavern has gone quiet over the last decade, but there are thousands of taverns, so I just haven't been able to stop by the way I've meant to. And it's a good thing I did.
Well, this one won't fall easily.
So I think as this conversation was starting, Marcus had grabbed a bottle of vodka and a glass and was going to pour himself a drink. And watching all this happen, he just sets the glass down, takes a slug from the bottle, sets that on the bar. So you all mean to tell me that this tavern, I always knew it was kind of special, but there is something really special about it now.
Would Marcus have known about taverns? Because he was kind of apprenticed under Hecate.
I think he may have known they existed, but being as this has been dormant, and I think I had said he was probably only been here for a few years.
Yeah.
He was not aware that this was a tavern.
A tavern, gotcha. Yes. I'm not surprised that you were pulled here. You know, some of our trainings were for you to help heal taverns that have become injured or damaged over the years. And I'm sure this tavern pulled you in subconsciously, and that's probably why you've stayed in this one location for as long as you have. But until I arrived, until a dimensional traveler was a guest, it didn't have any energy, as it feeds, that's a wrong word. Our presence gives it purpose. Purpose gives it energy. The more purpose it has, the more capable it is. My being here is just bringing basic functions online. Some of the bigger taverns in the dimensional universe are massive affairs with giant cosmic powers, the abilities to redefine themselves, powered and defended and offensively weaponized to protect their guests, to serve to their every needs, to cater to their every whim. That's why we can't let them become incorporated. We need to keep them independent. Let each of them be their own unique, beautiful thing.
All right, so I'm getting a bad feeling just because of how things work and a couple of conversations that I had the last time I went to a convention in the big city. But tell me, how did you go about getting into an altercation with those folk from Wayne Enterprises?
While this conversation is going on, I'm going to use Reginald to sweep up the blood.
So he doesn't actually need to sweep the blood, but like you tap, and it's almost like the blood just gets like absorbed into the floorboards, and you almost kind of like, again, you don't quite have the full awareness, but you get the sense that it's being like dissipated and spread out, because you get this tavern is much bigger than what its footprint is. And at the same time, like, this room starts straightening itself. So, like, tables are starting to become dusted, chairs are righting themselves. Like, it's a slow process, but, you know, Reginald's almost kind of like moving around as this broom, more magically kind of facilitating a lot of these changes. And if you want to do it with Reginald too, like, that's going to make it go quicker and more potently.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do while I'm listening to this conversation.
Love it. Yes. Unfortunately, there's some dimensional organization that just is that's just acquiring. And I think that they might be in conflict with the Wayne Enterprise people. Because when I came through, they weren't expecting me, and it almost seems like they were startled and attacked me. And I defended myself, but they weren't human.
So, you were summoned, as it were?
I was running. I had run into, let's just call them the Nemesis for now, because I don't know much about them yet. And I was injured, and I stumbled. I came here looking for you. And once I emerged, the Wayne Enterprise people tried to capture me, and I defended myself.
They do frequent here, the Wayne Enterprise people, and they are an excitable lot.
They do tend to be, and there's quite a number of them. Based on some conversations I had at the convention, convention gathering of some of us inventor types some months back when I went to the city, a couple of those who have some similar awarenesses to ours mentioned that they had been asked to build some things. Not things that were aggressive, if you will, but more like warding type things for some of these expansion, these railroad type companies, etc. And I had been asked a time or two by Wayne for a couple of small things, but I'm wondering if somehow perhaps those devices, if there is a larger organization behind all these companies, could be put together to far more sinister means.
I don't know. I was not expecting to run into these lycanthropes when I came here. I know that they are not who I'm running from, but they are definitely not who I expected to find at this location either. Perhaps you could find out more.
Perhaps. At this point, I think Marcus wants to look around, and if there's any blood, or even if I have to go out onto the steps left, is there a way he could use magic to determine if this is the blood of a lichen?
I do not perceive your character being cognizant of magic in that way.
Okay.
Do you
fair.
think... No, it's your character. Do you think your character is cognizant of magic in that manner?
So, I'm going to say, given the fact that he apprenticed with Hecate, and that he does have the Mystic Library, he is aware that those things exist, that those magics exist.
Is this something that Myles could help with, given he's an alchemist?
What I'm going to say is this. Oaken, with the help of Reginald, would be able to provide a sample of blood from the lycanthrope.
Look, I'm willing to say that Marcus knows that it's theoretically possible, but I also kind of feel like he may not know how to do it.
Well, I think you're also getting... This is presumptuous of me, Steve. I think you're getting locked into traditional ways of thinking of magic. Your
Probably.
character is a tinkerer, so what would an artificer potentially do with magical devices to achieve this goal?
Actually, I know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to take this blood sample and introduce some silver shavings and see what happens.
The blood... Because we only have one more session, so I'm going to keep it simpler. Normally I'd be like, it's actually going to be nickel, not silver, because, they're not as cool as but whatever. We'll just say it's silver. And as you try to introduce the silver shavings, the blood actually kind of like moves away from the silver, almost like it's being repelled by a magnet.
Well, that at least answers that bit. As to what they're up to, that I'm not sure of, nor am I quite certain how we might go about finding it out.
They had asked for you, since you guys are part of the committee, the Greater Good Society, the Wayne Enterprise, the chief kind of security, had asked for you to come give them a report. And you see Hecate just looking just fatigued and now a little drunk. I need to rest. Where's my room?
I will show you the way.
Thank you.
And I'll telepathically ask Reginald which one is done up, if he has the ability to extend himself that far.
Do you think Oaken would... I feel like Oaken would do this. This is me assuming, but because just like Nordic culture is very much about being a good host.
Yeah.
So I think that Oaken would want to be finding the right room for.
Right.
Okay. So I think that... You go ahead.
I was going to say, the room itself probably is in the dead center of the space with no windows.
Love it.
And it is like perfectly north, south, east, west bisected in this room.
100%.
At the nexus of this place.
And I think there's actually like a hallway that goes by it, and then there's actually like it's almost like at the center of this like hallways.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's the perfect room. And as you kind of think of this, you feel, and again, like you don't have quite your full perception, but you almost feel like the building is just like shifting just a little bit as this room you kind of theorize is being made by Reginald to meet your needs.
This blueprint's gonna look like the one of the Overlook Hotel
Yes.
from The Shining.
No. I need to sleep tonight. So as you lead her up, the thing settles, and you walk into the room, and it's even got things are a little out of date. You can tell like the tavern is struggling a little bit, because it's almost like it wants to furnish the room more, but like didn't quite get it fully there. So it's almost Spartan, but still has this like made for her feel, if that makes sense. And she kind of walks in, and you see like just kind of weariness, kind of like, and she turns to you and puts her hand on your shoulder. And I know that this doesn't mean much to you yet, and in some ways I'm kind of the person in charge of you. But thank you, Tavern Keeper. This is exactly what I needed. And she goes in and closes the door and is soon asleep.
Oaken takes that lets it sink in that he now has 2 bosses to report to. At least he assumes, or she assumes she does.
Yeah, maybe I'm not using the right word. Think of her as kind of like this. She's like the god of Crossroads, but she's kind of like the support for them. Like, I don't know. It's not like boss isn't the right word, but advocate, support.
Because of the way Oaken has been brought up, right? In militaristic way.
Sure. Oh,
there's
then
someone
yes.
that they report to
Yes.
from their pantheon now
Yes.
has a different pantheon to report to. So Oaken feels a little bit conflicted about this.
Yes, perfect. So that's exactly right. Almost like 2 commanding officers.
Yep.
Cool. So I think Oaken makes their way back down, and Reginald kind of turns back into your sword, though now it's a little bit more stylized, and you can tell me how it's stylized to kind of like feel a little bit more like tied into the tavern if you want. But I think at this point, you all feel as if you need to gather more information.
Yeah, the sword starts to morph itself into more of a saber that would be appropriate for the time period, as opposed to a more ancient Valkyrie type weapon. It's, like a horseman's saber almost.
Very cool. And I think it almost kind of like has like a wooden feel to it, though it's metal. So it's kind of like this in between the broom and your sword.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. It's gonna have a unique power now, so we're gonna talk about that if it ever comes up. But I feel like it should have a cool power now.
Okay.
And whenever you're in the tavern, in an awakened space, like right now in this tap room, and you're holding this object, and you're more connected with the tavern, you're gonna have bonuses to your weird rolls. Because in many ways you're tapping into, if you're doing something that taps into the power of the tavern, you're now able to use that to kind of supplement you. So you're growing into that like godlike being within this defined space.
Sure.
Cool. So it is close to morning. The sun is starting to rise. The town is starting to wake up around you.
I will prepare. Don't know how to do this because I haven't done it before, but for opening the tavern.
Yeah, you're fine.
Like,
I'm more thinking, what do you guys want to do for the mystery? But
sure, I'm waiting for them to return to here because I assume this is going to be the meeting place, and I'm unsure of my new place as part of this, and we'll wait for them to arrive.
Well, I think
here.
as you come back downstairs from taking Hecate to their chamber, I think you come back down, and Marcus kind of looks up, looks at you, and looks at Myles. Gentlemen, I have taken in a whole hell of a lot of information today, and it strikes me that before we go talking to that head of security from Wayne Enterprises, we would probably do right to speak to someone who might know more about some of these things. If I'm not mistaken, there's a man called Angus in town who is of a nature similar to your own, Oaken. Believe he works as the Undertaker.
Yes, Angus Scrim. He's similar, but we could talk to Angus.
Figure those Wayne people were up late last night, so we probably have an hour or two before they come around to come talk to us.
Yes, Angus may be of some help, but I'm not sure how long I can leave this place now.
Well,
I haven't sussed that out yet. We can try.
may as best keep learning things as we do. Certainly learned a hell of a lot over since last night.
Well, would you care for some breakfast and then go?
Oh, why not? Coffee, at least. Gonna have to do something. Well, we was busy last night, so coffee and some sort of bacon or something would be quite good.
So I'm gonna look around on how to make it, but then think it. So I don't know if Reginald pops into like active mode of this, and I feel like that's how it would operate.
You get the sense that Reginald is not necessarily good at producing things, but is good at maintaining and rearranging. But if you'll remember, this bar has a full staff, so they are starting to show up.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And
yep.
so there is like a bartender and like 2 wait staff and a cook. Probably not at this, there's probably like a cook and a server or something. But there are people here to produce food.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't know if that changed once it became Awoken, if that changed that relationship at all, but that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, you need to find staff for this place that is good at those things. Like if you want to have entertainment, you'll have to find those people and kind of collect them.
Sure, okay. So I assume we have some breakfast and head out to go talk to Angus?
Yeah, definitely. And were you running the bar before this?
I was a patron.
Okay. So I think the staff just kind of like just is treating you like the owner and kind of giving you like updates, and like magically they're not even really aware that anything has changed, but they're kind of just doing their normal routine, but still deferring to you.
Okay. I will not nervously. I'll outwardly be confident in my answers, but internally, like not knowing what I'm doing. I'm just doing what the first most logical thing that comes to me is whenever they ask for something.
And Reginald is kind of like guiding you a little bit, like almost think like Jeeves, and asks you, excuse me, sir, I would encourage you considering option 2 there instead of option 1. Not to be gauche, but like that kind of like subtle guiding almost.
Mm-hmm.
Reginald really reminds me of the proprietor in Altered Carbon.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, that's very much kind of the feel.
Good. Glad I was getting that right.
Or at least that's the feel I was going for. I maybe shouldn't be presumptuous. That was the feel.
No, it you got that, I think, really well.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah. So you guys are able to get food. It's mid-morning because you're not really in a rush. There have been only a couple Wayne people in the tavern this morning, much more of the locals, whereas there would typically be more of kind of a blending of the two.
Noted.
Any of them make any remarks about the stain that's gone from the floor or anything?
You can tell that everyone's kind of awkwardly avoiding that area and not looking at it.
All right.
And there does feel to be tension between the locals and the Wayne staff who do come in, but they tend to come in and grab something quickly and kind of leave.
As they're doing that, before we head out, I'm just going to take a look at them in the mirror and see what, now knowing what I know, what their images appear to be in the mirror.
You can roll again. You've previously failed rolls.
Yep. Now I have new information.
Yep.
So this is weird.
Yep. and you get an additional +1 at this point.
Okay. 2, 6. That's going to be a 9.
Yeah, so you see their human form, but underneath of it, you see kind of that, like, road, the capoeira, kind of like the features are humanized, whatever, however you pronounce their name. Kind of like capybara. Yeah. Boy, I need to stop.
Capoeira is a martial art.
But you kind of see their like lycanthrope form, kind of like hazy, kind of over their human form. Yeah, so you're able to kind of like see the Wayne Enterprise people as, you know, kind of the duplicity of their characters.
I've seen both of their sides while they're in the tavern, the Wayne folks.
Well, what do you say we go speak with Mr. Scrim and see if he perhaps has any wisdom he can impart to us?
Just be aware that he's dealt with the dead for so long that his personality may be akin to that of the dead.
Well, I'm open to talk to someone else. However, it seems like he's the best individual I know of in town to speak, given our situation.
Oh, I'm not saying he won't be useful. I just wanted you to prepare what the conversation may be like.
If he's Sphinx from Gone in 60 Seconds, it's not going to go well.
Or will it go perfectly well?
Sphinx,
many
what if it's you?
Alright, we make our way over to the graveyard /
Yeah.
Undertaker.
Yeah, and I think you find this guy who's kind of like, so this is, you know, a little bit bigger town than like those kind of the traditional like cowboy kind of towns. It's early morning, so it's not quite hot yet, but the sun is definitely up. There's still like on the side streets, it's kind of just dirt, but the people have those like wooden sidewalks running along them. But the Undertaker shop is a little bit off by itself. There's a little, you know, there's a graveyard behind it. And you know, there's a shop where he builds the coffins, and it's beautiful, pristine. This person really clearly takes care of their stuff. And you find him out back, kind of lounging on a chair, 2 feet up off the ground, and he is playing an instrument. What instrument is this guy playing?
Mouth harp.
He's playing a mouth harp, periodically just taking like sips from a thing of coffee. And he's got something kind of like grilling over an open fire next to him that he's just occasionally kind of picking at as he's playing and drinking. And I'm having to look up what a mouth harp is.
The thing that's boing, 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 boing.
Oh, that thingy.
Also known as a Jew's harp, but yeah.
I'm going to walk up to, as we come up and say, how's business, Angus?
Wow, this makes weird noises.
It's kind of funny imagining an Undertaker playing that.
That's why I said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's back to where you came. Alright, anyways. Yeah, so this guy's chilling out, playing music.
How's business, Angus?
Oh. So wait, did you say Angus was a Valkyrie also, or just from...
He actually works for Hela, which is the underworld. She manages the underworld.
So my notes just say Asgardian.
Yeah, opposite of what Valhalla is.
Got it.
So, like, there's not really a... It's kind of hell, but it's just basically where the dead people go that don't make it to Valhalla.
Angus has a very exclusive club here. Everyone's just dying to get in.
So, is this like their purgatory?
No, it's... Hold on.
It's hell.
It doesn't matter. Okay. Well, if it isn't Little Oaken, how you doing?
Oh, it's been an interesting day or so.
And it's not even noon yet.
Agreed. So, we were hoping you could help us with something, because you've been here a lot longer than I have.
Aye?
Are you familiar with the taverns of the crossroads?
Of course.
Have you been there to them before?
Yes.
Are you aware that they're under attack?
I've heard rumors.
Well,
But I've been stationed here for a while now, so I'm not exactly in the know.
were you aware that our very own tavern is one of those taverns?
I am. That's why I'm still here.
Well, frankly speaking, we came seeking some advice because, given your experience, if I told you that, well, let's just say that a very important entity came through last night and informed us that there was an attempt to capture her.
Okay. I feel like you're being very vague, and what do you want from me?
Given who was involved in this attempt, I'm beginning to wonder, given some other information that I've put together, if these Wayne Enterprise people aren't behind some of these attacks on the taverns. But I don't know why, and I don't really understand to what end.
It's almost like you should do some investigating.
We have done some. It does appear that a large part of these folk from Wayne Enterprises are special beings, though I don't know if that's actually relevant to what's going on. Frankly, I just thought you might have some wisdom to lend from, well, the amount of time you've spent here and elsewhere.
Do the Wayne folk conduct business with you?
They have, but they're more interested in transportation of a different manner than what I am interested in.
Oh.
So you might say that we are contemporaries of a sort.
So they... And you just... Oaken stops speaking and you can see her trying to think. It's not registering what he means by contemporary. And she turns to him and says, "Contemporary, please explain."
They are also in the transportation industry, just they are transporting different, let's say, content than what I focus on.
Off this world. I too am in the transportation business, as you know. More of a guide.
I was gonna say, more like a guided tour.
What is it that they like to transport?
Goods, not human bodies and souls like me.
But they're dead. They take care of their own dead? Or do you?
We have a mutually beneficial agreement. I help the souls of their dead, and they help me move other products.
Let me ask you this. Would you think it possible that they might be attempting to figure out some way to harness the taverns as part of their transportation industry?
Unlikely, but I have not necessarily involved myself in that level of their industry.
Marcus, she did say that it was an odd happenstance that they were there, but they were not the ones that she was being chased by.
That's true.
But I've come to find that there's meaning in many things, so perhaps it wasn't happenstance that they were there.
Yes. Happenstance seems to more often be on the surface than at the root of things.
And I turn to Angus and say, "I have the feeling that your business may begin to pick up. Tensions are starting to boil over here. The Wayne folks are looking for blood."
I will start preparing extra lots.
Probably a wise move.
And I think you hear the bell out front ring. And two individuals wearing Wayne Enterprise uniforms walks around back. "Ah, there you are. I've been asked to escort you three to the director, if you would be so kind."
Wasn't aware that we had an appointment.
You'd been asked to keep us up to date on the death of one of our employees, and now we find many more than just that one. You understand that we would be anxious to discover what is going on for our people.
Well, yes. We were actually on our way to come see you.
Perfect. If you allow us to convey you, I am sure we will get you there in a timely and safely manner.
I think Marcus kind of gives Oaken and Myles a look, kind of shrugs, and well then, I suppose we best be off.
And I think we see you get in the back of this carriage, and I think we're gonna fade as the carriage heads towards Wayne Enterprises, and we see you enter through into their compound.
Cool.
This is going to go well.
What could possibly go wrong?
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast. On Discord at Me and Steve RPGs. And as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.